Hi guys, my name is Christine, and today I'm talking about how you can take complete control over your life. So I'm going to be talking a lot about your perceptions, how the way that you think, basically how you're using your mind a lot. Because obviously there are some things in life that we're not going to be able to control. Like we can't control the weather, we can't control people getting sick, we can't control the economy, we can't control the government, only to a very slight degree. So there are some things in our life that are obviously not in our control. However, the way that we react, the way that we use our own minds, the way that we personally perceive things are always in our control, and that is going to be today's focus. So today I want to bring us back to something that I've talked about a couple of times before, and that is a quick audio program. It's something that only goes on for about 30 minutes, and that is The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And basically what Earl Nightingale says in this program is that the strangest secret in the world is that we become what we think about. So what does this mean? What does it mean that we become what we think about? Now, it's not some medical physical thing. It's not something that's too deep, because I feel like a lot of people, when they hear that line, they think of the law of attraction. I think that line was even said in the famous movie about the law of attraction, The Secret. We become what we think about. But in simpler terms, it's not a very medical physical thing. It is something that is very true and real, and it's actually more plausible and more practical than what you think. It's not always a metaphysical saying. Because basically what it means is that what we think about in our heads from day to day is basically how life is going to pan out for us. So, for example, if your predominant thoughts are negative ones, then you're going to be feeling pretty lousy. You're going to have a pretty lousy life. You're not going to feel great about yourself. If you're thinking about all the reasons why you're not good enough, if you're thinking about why you're a failure and you keep on listing those things in your head, then you're probably going to stay stuck in that place. Whereas if you direct your thoughts to more positive ones, thinking of plans on how you can, make your dreams come true, listening to audio things about success and listening to audiobooks about self-help, and your predominant thoughts are ones of success, achieving, they're mainly positive, then you're going to feel those things more often, because that's what is going on inside your head. It's not a metaphysical thing. It's actually a very realistic thing, because we've had days where we wake up, we feel tired, we feel lousy, and then pretty much that's how the day pans out. We have a pretty much a lousy day, unless something interrupts our pattern and makes it better, like someone tells a funny joke to us and then it lifts our mood up a little bit, and then our thoughts change a little bit. But usually if you're having a lousy day, it tends to stay like that, because you're thinking lousy thoughts, because you're tired, because you're frustrated, all those kinds of things. Whereas if you wake up and it's a great day and it's a positive day and you feel good, you got enough sleep, you didn't get into any arguments with your loved ones, then you tend to have a more better day. But as you can see, all those things are external things. You need to realize, if you can, that you can actually have a good day whether or not you wake up on the right side of the bed or not. Right? You can choose to have a good day. And I think most people run on autopilot. They just let things just happen to them. And then they let those experiences make them happy or they make them feel down. But you can direct your thoughts. You can choose to perceive things in a different way. It just takes a very slight amount of willpower to not let external things bother you so much, and basically let the internal thoughts lift you up. So how can we do this, and how can we really start utilizing our mind a lot more and start thinking in ways that we want to think about? Because like I said, a lot of the time we do run on autopilot, and if you've been thinking a certain way for a long time, then it's probably been conditioned into your mind. Usually, most people think roughly the same thoughts every single day, and they don't direct their thoughts anywhere else, and they don't choose to think about other things because they're just living on autopilot. And let's be honest, the brain is quite lazy. I was recently reading the book Think Fast and Slow, where basically, usually we go from the lazy side of ourselves. So that means basically, we go from how we're feeling, we take snap judgments, those kinds of things. And we run on that because it's just simply easier. But when we have to think, and let's say when you're doing a mathematical equation, that takes us time. We think a lot slower, we focus, and we try to pay attention, basically. So if you want to start changing your thoughts, then you need to start paying more of attention and not letting your brain just run on autopilot. So basically, make a list, like get a piece of paper and write down a list of things that you believe that you think about on a daily basis. Maybe some things that you feel on a daily basis, like perhaps you feel stressed or depressed or anxious. And perhaps you have some certain thoughts that just keep on repeating over and over again. You should know which ones they are, right? If you keep on thinking about the same kind of things over and over again and they make you feel lousy, then that's one of those things. Like if you think about how you look when you're in the mirror, or how you think about how you look when you look at yourself in the mirror. Or it could be how you feel about your side business, or it could be how you feel about yourself in general. So write down the negative things that you tend to say about yourself. And then decide that you're going to simply give those things up. So basically, whenever these thoughts come into your head, you're going to try and direct it to something much more positive so you can have a little bit more control over your day. Because if you wake up and you look in the mirror and you just look at yourself and say horrible things about yourself, or you judge the way that you look and you're just being really mean to yourself, then that's not going to help you. That's not empowering you. That's not making you feel better. So if you want to start taking control of your life, of your mood, and you want to have a more happier, positive experience, then you've really got to let go of that negative self-talk, and at least try and switch it to something more positive. Like, I'm not saying you're going to get amazing, crazy results from changing your thoughts like this, because it may take some time. Because like I said, if you've been thinking the same things over and over again every single day, then it's likely that those things have been conditioned into you. So it's going to take a while to kind of like reverse it, right? Now that you have a list of the things that you say to yourself a lot that is negative, and it may not be just about yourself, it could be like world views. It could be, you might have like a really negative world view, like let's say like humanity is a cancer on the earth or something. I hear that's I hear a lot of people saying things like that. Perhaps that might be one of your world views as well. You need to change that to something more positive, because if you keep on thinking about that, then that's all you're gonna see. So now you want to make a new list of the new things that you want to be thinking about. Perhaps you want to be thinking more positively about your body. Perhaps you want to be thinking more positively about your business or whatever it is that you're trying to create, like a side hustle, or it could be your career in general. It could be some hobbies that you have, because perhaps you're feeling a bit stuck and you feel bad, like you're not making any progress. But if you're thinking that way, then obviously that's what you're going to get. So you need to switch those thoughts up, and so even if it's just something simple as, even if it's just a tiny bit of progress, that's better than nothing. That could be something positive that you say to yourself. So basically, you want to find some ways that you can combat basically all these other negative things that you've been saying to yourself, and think of a positive alternative that you can say to yourself, that you can remember to use when your brain automatically goes to those negative thoughts. And eventually, over time, if you keep on doing this, when you think of a negative thought, you switch it to something positive, eventually, over time, the positive thought will be your dominant thought, because each time that negative thought has come up, you've kind of whacked it like a whack-a-mole. I don't know if you've seen those games. There was a game of that that I used to play as a kid, but it wasn't a mole, it was a crocodile. Like a crocodile pop up and then you'd whack it down in like one of those arcade places. And that's kind of like how we have to, feel and kind of envision negative thoughts. Like when a negative thought pops up, you whack it back down with something positive. Kind of think it like that. Think about it. So think about it in that way. So when of those, automatic responses comes up, you whack it back down with something positive. And if you keep on doing that, eventually, over time, you will start thinking more positively. So another thing that you can do is obviously take action on things that mean a lot to you, right? So when you get inspired thoughts, when you get ideas on how you can make a better life for yourself, take action on it. Like today, I've given you an idea, to find positive alternatives to the negative thoughts that you consistently have. So please take action on it. Take action on it. Do something about it. So the last thing that I want to talk about, and I can't even begin to tell you how powerful this process was for me. Because I used to be very negative. Like even as like pictures of me as a kid that I, would look back on, I look really sad. Like I think I'm inherently someone who is supposed to be someone who's negative and is a bit grumpy. Like I just feel like that's how I was supposed to be, like genetically, because I do have a lot of family members who are quite grumpy and quite negative. Now it could be the fact that it's nurture, But I also think that there's a little bit of nature to it as well. I think I'm just prone to just being a little bit more negative than most people. Perhaps that's a negative belief, I don't know. But the great thing is that I was able to combat this. Like, I was able to overcome this by listening to a lot of positive content, like things on self-help, things on spirituality. Like, I listen, and there was a time when I would listen to it all the time. I used to listen to loads and loads of Dr. Wayne Dyer, and I'd watch loads and loads of his seminars, sometimes the same ones over and over and over again. And after doing that, because the ideas that Dr. Wayne Dyer would give out were so positive, eventually I started thinking in the same kind of way. I would listen to Tony Robbins' audio programs as well, his personal power program, Personal Power 2. I used to listen to that loads. And eventually I just started to feel more positive, and I would think more positively because I admired these great teachers. And because I admired them so much, I started adopting some of their beliefs, and it made me feel better. Like, I owe all pretty much of my new positive outlook to life to Dr. Wayne Dyer and his seminars and his books and all the stuff that he's created, his interviews. Just listening to him, really centers me and puts me back in a better mood, puts me back to where I'm supposed to be. And he ultimately helped me think a lot more positive. So if you listen to lots of things on, positivity, self-help, how to be successful, Jim Rohn's another great one who I love listening to, always puts me in a really good mood and makes me think a lot more positively. You've got to really pay attention, basically, to the content that you're consuming. Because if you're just watching, let's say like true crime documentaries and negative things, negative stories, you're reading the news all the time, which is just full of negative things, negative stories. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be informed on these things. You should just not consume it ultimately all the time. For most of the time, let's say like do the 80-20 rule. Like 80% of the time, you listen to really positive things like audiobooks, lectures, on self-help, those and positive thinking, those kinds of things. And then 20% of the time, obviously, you can inform yourself with the daily news, the daily gossip, whatever it may be. But as long as predominantly you're listening to positive things that are empowering, that give you ideas, that's what's ultimately going to make you feel so much better because you're consuming it. And if you consume it all the time, eventually some really good stuff is gonna come out. This is something that I heard from Tony Robbins. Like, he used to be a janitor before he became, the big Tony Robbins that he is now, the success that he is now. And when he was being a janitor, he would listen to, I think, like Earl Nightingale programs, like Nightingale Conant stuff, that kind of thing. He would listen to loads and loads of positive tapes while he was a janitor. And because he listened to so many positive audio programs, eventually he said those words, eventually good things started pouring out of me. So be very aware, be very acutely aware of the content you're consuming, because sometimes that can put you in a good mood or in a bad mood. And that's essentially my tips on how to take control of your life. Like I said, you can't control everything that's going to happen in the world, but you can control how you perceive things, you can control your mood, and you can choose to put a positive spin on any negative experience or any negative thought or feeling that you are having. You have that choice every single day. Take control and make that choice. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.